Hey there, it's Bill. This week we're back in the tiny little workshop and I have a reveal to show to you. I bought a lathe, a crummy old one, but it's still a lathe. And this has made the tiny little workshop even tinier than it ever was in the past. But this week I'm going to show you how I used this tool to make a couple of file handles. Okay, I know it's just a cheapy Craftsman tube lathe, but we all have to start somewhere. I found it in a thrift store and I probably paid way too much money, but it is much better than the last time that I tried turning something. I chucked a piece of dowel into a handheld drill and I made this Harry Potter wand for my niece for her birthday a couple of years ago. Now the very first thing that I wanted to turn was a file handle. I've always wanted a file handle. You can see in this drawer here that I've only got one and it's attached to this giant bastard file. I grabbed a 3.5 by 2 1/4 inch piece of solid oak from a shipping pallet that had been sitting out in my backyard for about a year, and I carefully cut out a hunk of it between some nails that were still in it. You can see my pallet wood video for more info on how to know if they're safe to use in woodworking projects. Now here's a big disclaimer for this video. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing whatsoever. This trick, just for marking the center of the piece of wood, I picked up from the lathe's user manual that I found online in PDF format. I don't even have the right tools for this. Here I am using one of 2 wood chisels that I happen to own, while this unbalanced chunk of oak is trying to make the lathe dance all the way to the end of the workshop. I do at least know that turning tools should be sharp, and with a little patience I had a round-ish chunk of oak. I figure this is a pretty decent beginner project though, since you don't need a lot of knowledge or previous experience to take on something like this. Once the wood was finally round, well, for the most part, I switched over to the narrower chisel and I started making the contours of the handle. I probably wasn't using the right speed for the finished work, so there's plenty of sanding involved to get the surface as smooth as I wanted for the finished product. After a very graceful dismount, it was time to trim the excess. Back at the miter saw, I trimmed the ends flush and then smoothed the transition with some more sandpaper. The next step was picking a drill bit that is the same general diameter as the file is thick, and then drilling the hole for the file end to slide into. Now, since the tang of this file is kind of wider than it is thick, I just rocked the drill bit back and forth to waller out the hole on either side and make a nice interference fit. I drilled the hole about a 1/2 inch or so shallower than the file's handle length for a nice snug fit. Now here's a smaller file handle being turned. For this one I made a ferrule from a piece of copper pipe that I picked up on the side of the road on my way to work one morning. Now here I'm eyeballing just how much wood to remove in order to fit the pipe over the end of the handle. I went back quite a few times to make sure I removed just enough material. Then I cleaned this one up and smoothed it out kind of like the other one. Just a quick trim with a tubing cutter, a little cleanup, and a dab of glue holds that copper pipe ferrule in place. The drilling operation works out just the same, only this time with a smaller drill bit to fit this particular file. Each of the finished file handles got a coat of tung oil for spiffiness sake. Kind of shines things up, brings out some of the characteristics of the wood grain. After a couple hours of trial and error and dodging flying pieces of wood, I now had 3 new file handles in the drawer. Now even if all you had access to was, say, a power drill and a knife, you could whittle down a hunk of wood, drill a hole in the end, stick the file in there, and still have something much more comfortable and safe to hold on to. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching.